Alright guys, we are back yet again for Watchmen, reviewing not just the movie, which came out in theaters, you gotta go see it, but also the book came out in 1986, written by one of the greatest writers in comic history, Alan Moore, and one of the greatest fucking artists of all time, Dave Gibbons. Now, picking up where we left off, okay, what were some things that were left out of the movie for whatever reason that you as a fan wish that they had kept in?
Mostly just the sort of ancillary characters in the story, however you pronounce that.
Like the minor characters.
Like the minor characters. The news vendor and the little kid reading the comic. I know that ties into the Black Freighter stuff. They're going to do more on that later. With a separate DVD and all that.
I cannot wait to see that.
I mean, it was nice to see them, but, like, it's kind of not worth seeing them if you don't know who they are.
Exactly. In the comic, you even though they're minor characters, you develop somewhat of a relationship with them.
Yeah, just like and yes, of course, Hattie, the cab driver.
Yes.
And just of course more with Silk Spectre, Sally Jupiter, and Hollis Mason.
Yeah, although I think that, like I said,
sadly absent from the movie.
Yeah, Carla Gugino really brought her A game to this movie. I mean, as did everybody else. Like, and the dude they got for Hollis Mason, like I said, is just fucking perfect. Oh god, I love it. Something else that kind of irritated me, though. Well, you know, the movie's great. The movie's great. It's as good as it's gonna be. But with Rorschach, when they're showing his bit of his back history, he has an abusive mom who is a whore, and you know he's beating up bullies and stuff like that. One of the small things with the bullies, though, is in the comic he takes a cigarette and jabs a fucking bully's eye out. Another thing is his actual reason for becoming Rorschach, which is actually he uses the vigilance as an excuse. You know, it's the reason why he wants to do what he does is the excuse that he uses is an actual case that happened in the 70s. It was like 60s or 70s or so. A young woman by the name of Kitty Genovese, or however you pronounce her name, was murdered in her apartment, and there were like countless eyewitnesses, but not one person spoke up or said anything. And to this day, the case still goes unsolved. And Rorschach's entire idea about this is that, you know, people aren't what they say, they are what they do, you know. The only thing that's as bad as evil itself is the indifference of good men, you know, which, of course, we're Boondock Saints fans, so we can identify with that. But the thing that really just kind of irritated me, though, was when Rorschach is killing the child murderer. The fact that they change it a little bit, like, he still gets it in the end, which, you know, was fucking awesome, but still it's even better in the comic.
They keep the idea that he kills, it's the first time he killed the guy, and he snaps. And,
yeah.
But in that, I guess that's another example of the over-the-top violence, I thought. You know, spoiler alert here, guys, if you haven't read the book, go out and read the book. We'll wait.
I'll come to your house, and I'll fuck your mom!
Okay, anyway, now you've all read it. No, in the book, he, has a wonderful kind of scene like the end of the first Mad Max where he handcuffs the guy to a radiator and sets his house on fire. And
he hands him a saw,
He hands him a hacksaw and says, you can cut through the chains or try and cut through your arm, like saw.
Quicker to cut through your arm and stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing though is that they did keep his inner monologue as that was happening, though.
Yeah.
You know, that God doesn't exist. They changed a little bit, but God doesn't exist. There is no God. This is Rorschach's opinion, but there is no God. And, you know, it isn't fate. It isn't God that kills the children. It isn't fate that butchers them. It isn't destiny that feeds them to the dogs. It's us. You know, we're the ones who make the world the way it is. But another thing, though, okay, well, do you think that Hollywood could ever do an original superhero movie the size of Watchmen without adapting it from another medium?
Yeah, I've said it for a while now since I finally got to see it. They've already done it. It was called Darkman.
Exactly.
But nobody seems to want to appreciate that. And only the first one, because the last one was crap. But anyway.
Yeah. They can do it, but due to bullshit politics and all that other stuff, you know, they're probably not fucking going
Hollywood has a tendency when they make original superhero stories to want to play up comedic angles of it.
There is that aspect too.
And there is that aspect to it, and that's even brought up in Watchmen, believe it or not. But they have to realize that these things can be more than funny.
Yeah.
And they can be serious and they can be dramatic. It's just like a costume drama period piece.
Yeah.
I mean, just because these people are wearing tights and masks doesn't mean that they can't be rich, well-developed characters and have psyches and characters worthy of great performances.
Okay.
Which I think we saw in this.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I would like to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Now, the director of the film, Zack Snyder, after doing Watchmen, after doing 300, after doing all this other stuff, what would you like to see Zack Snyder do?
Ronin
by Frank Miller, a fantastic comic.
I mean, we know Frank can direct his own stuff now. I'm one of the few people that defended the merits of the Spirit. And Sin City was, of course, absolutely brilliant. But I think that Frank kind of is... I kind of fear he's going to get like George Lucas. Yeah. And he's going to only end up like fucking up his own creations. So I think that he needs to let somebody kind of step back and handle this when he needs to be there when somebody does it. And I think just with the tone of Ronin, the setting, and everything, I think Zack Snyder could pull it off magnificently.
My two choices. Number one, first and foremost, Kingdom Come. One of the greatest comics ever written, second only to Watchmen. Number two, Dark Knight Returns, baby. One day it will fucking happen. Alright. Now that the movies come out and everything, do you think that this will be the end of the superhero film and, you know, is this the final nail in the coffin?
I don't think it's going to be the final nail in the coffin. Because these things, good or bad as they are, they still make money for the studios. And as long as, I mean, we can trace it all back to the first X-Men film. They took a chance on that and created a monster, and it led to what we have now. There's
Wolverine.
a lot of things we have to thank for that. A lot of things we have to be pissed off about that. Yeah. I think superhero films is a genre here to stay. It's like, I think it's going to be like the Western. It's going to be like, it's going to be something.
And Clint Eastwood will perfect it.
Something that people thought was a flash in the pan, and I think it's going to stick around.
Exactly.
I don't think that we're going to see many
good ones
that are better.
Yeah. That's my entire thing, honestly.
It's going to come to a point where we're going to be saying, is it as good as
Watchmen? Because we can't help but compare, or like as good as Watchmen or as good as the fucking Dark Knight, which are two of, in my opinion, the greatest comic movies that we have seen thus far. Yeah. And anyways, that's the end of the second part. The next part, we will get to talking about these bad boys right here. I will see you guys later.